Ladies and gentlemen, however you like to identify yourselves, welcome to the Lioness show. We are once again on the road to Stadium Australia, and we are, as always, joined by Adam. How are you?
I'm well, thank you very much. I'm just about recovered from the morning's entertainment, if you can call it that, and looking forward to sort of picking it apart.
And as always, the amazing Lottie is with us. How are you feeling over the last 2 days?
Well, in the last 24 hours, my voice is gone. I do apologise to everyone or our audio listeners. I know it sounds bad. I've watched 3 penalty shootouts. I've had enough of them. Please, no more. Please, no more. Don't do this to me. No, I'm good. I've watched the Community Shield race at the weekend. Hopefully, seeing the World Cup by the end of this tournament with some luck.
And joining us again, we're so lucky to have her. It's G. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Stress levels are back down to normal now after this morning.
And I think it's only fair because it's her debut on Vic Akers Wonderland. Would like to introduce Sophie. Everyone will know her as the positive Gooner, but I'll let her do the introductions.
Thank you so much for having me on, first of all. I do love your content. I watch a bit, so it's really lovely to be on with you guys. So I'm very looking forward to this one. But yeah, I do have my own channel, which is Gooner Gossip TV, and I just sort of talk about like the games before, after, and I talk about the women's games as well. So I do different types of them videos, and yeah, a lot of people probably know me off Twitter as well. But yeah, really excited to do this one. Thanks for having me on.
So just quickly, Sophie, how are you enjoying the World Cup at the moment?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think a lot of teams have been unpredictable. Like teams you probably wouldn't think have done well have done really well. Like, USA getting knocked out, it surprised a lot of people. I definitely thought they would go through. So yeah, really enjoying it. Obviously the England game was quite stressful with the penalties and the whole game, but very, very proud of the team that we've got through, and it's just great to see other players come in and do well, like Lauren James. So very, very happy with how things are, and hopefully we'll go far in the tournament.
Is there anyone that's stood out for you?
I think for me, for England, definitely Lauren James, because she's just stepped in, and obviously she did make the mistake today. But apart from that, I think she's really stepped up and probably being our star of the show. So I love her. Very, very happy to see her. I do want to give a big shout out to Chloe Kelly as well, because I think she steps up in those big moments, and it's always difficult to do that when there's a lot of pressure on you. So big shout out to her as well, scoring that penalty. She does it so calmly. I don't know how she does it. If that was me, I'd be so nervous. But yeah, big shout out to her. It's obviously hard to pick players that have stood out because so many players have done really well at Mary Earps as well. Defensively, we've done excellent. So yeah, it's hard, but I'm really, really proud of the team, and I love them all, really.
Brilliant to hear. So we'll go straight into the game itself now, and it was such a different game compared to the groups, and this is what knockout football is really about. Some of us were lucky enough to attend knockout games at the Euros last year. Some of us were sitting and watching them, sometimes watching them alongside each other online, which was quite fun in itself. But this game hits a bit differently because Ashley Pomtra first of all hits the crossbar, and then she then forces Mary Earps into a great save diving towards her left. I'm just going to come to G first. What did you think of those two moves from Nigeria?
ridiculous. That shot was insane. And if it was on target, obviously a little bit more, I don't think anyone is going to stop that, let alone Mary. I know she almost got a hand to it, but it was just the way she hit it. It was just perfect. So you had to admire it, and I thought she was actually one of the best players on the pitch for the whole game. I think they were saying that she was actually she is English and had a 30-odd caps in the youth level, and then decided to obviously change to Nigeria, which is a shame because she's so good. She stood out for me today. Everything was sort of going through her. She was putting herself about. Russo couldn't really. She was on Russo all the time, and she couldn't really get any luck from her. And they were so fit. All of them were so physically strong today. And I just don't think any of our team could have matched them strength wise. Even on a different day, I just think they were just so physical in a good way. Yes, that was the real difference really for me today, is we were looking a little bit weak, being pushed off the ball quite easily, although they were always having two players, especially Lauren James. They cancelled her out the whole time she was on the pitch because they always had two players going to them. It just made it so difficult for us.
So it just comes to Adam then. Obviously, the game has come about, and we've had to find ways around this. Was this a good test for you about what we could perhaps expect in the later rounds if they're looking to target or go 2 players to 1, for example?
I think it was a good test. I know we won, but I don't think it's a test we passed. I think Nigeria dominated us all over the park. We're so used under Serena to play at a really high level where we can just outplay anyone off the park. I mean, I think back to the Euros, the only game I think we were outplayed was the Spanish game, and we managed to wrestle control back after about 70 minutes. We never had control of this game. Nigeria just, their man marking, as G mentioned, the physicality and the strength they had, just bossed each. We lost all our duels. I mean, thinking of Arsenal, you see Arteta talk about winning the duels and doesn't like us losing duels. Well, our England team, our Lionesses, they lost every duel on the pitch, and especially Lauren James. And that was the key sort of. She's been built up to be this superstar, that almost like the Beth Mead of the Euros, and she couldn't win a duel. She couldn't win the right to play her way, and we never did that. And my feeling is we got lucky because Nigeria couldn't score a goal, and they came very close. You mentioned obviously hit the crossbar, and they had other chances throughout the game as well. The only reason we got through is penalty shootouts. We got a 0-0, and they couldn't score. If we play against and this is the danger of looking, the moment we got out of the group stage, we're looking at the draw and thinking, right, what's our pathway? And we're sort of treating a lot of these games as easy routine wins. Well, there are no routine wins in knockout football, but the game has advanced so much that doesn't exist anymore. There are no byes, there are no easy wins. So if you're thinking of Colombia or Jamaica, whoever it is, I think they play tomorrow, time recording tomorrow. If one of them does that, plays, does doubles up and physicality and neutralise us, say Colombia, I watched them beat Germany. They could easily do the same that Nigeria did to us, and they've got the talent to score the goals. Someone like Caicedo, they'll score. Given that situation, there was a lot of rushed finishes from Nigeria. Especially the game got a bit tired near the end. I would say fair play to Nigeria. I thought Nigeria were amazing. And it's impressive that that's 3 0-0 they've got in the World Cup, and obviously this one they went out on, and they can be very proud of what they did. I don't think an African team has ever won a knockout game at a World Cup, but they came ever so close. I think this is a massive wake up call, because we were sort of all hanging up the bunting after we beat China 6-1, and we were sort of saying, oh, England are back. Well, I'm afraid I think we rather over-indexed the result, a bit like how the media were with Norway when they beat the Philippines 6-0. I think this is sort of a back to reality result, and I think a lot of work needs to be done on the training ground before the quarterfinal on Saturday.
So, Sophie, Alessia Russo has the chance to score, make it 1-0 in that first half. It was a miss kick from Denihan, I believe it is. I do apologise if I have butchered that name. We are a bit famous for doing that, so I do apologise if anyone
Correction, you
from
are.
You are that. don't tar us with your brush, Matt.
you say that, but you're the one that was given the opportunity to do the Vietnam names and
And I excelled superbly.
Philippines.
Do you know what? Every time I cross the line, he bites.
You know, it's so easy. It's so easy.
But we love you, really.
And then your next host is anyway. Sorry, Sophie. Alessia has the shot first time and it's saved by Naduzzi. What was your reaction just to that movement and at that time was that the option for Arsenal to sorry Arsenal England. I've already got my Arsenal hat on. Apologies. Was that? Did you think that was? Yes, I am looking forward to September.
Yeah, you can't stop thinking about
yes,
it.
yeah. Yes. Sorry. So yes, Alessia Russo with the chance there to make it 1-0 to England. What were your thoughts on that chance?
Yeah, I think like with Alessia Russo, I think when she scored in the last game, that's probably given her confidence to go in this game and have a go. But yeah, it's a shame. Like I think we did have chances, like in the game, like you said, with that one to win early on. And it's a shame, she didn't make the most of that. And she has had other chances in like games, but I think what I've noticed with this tournament, she's like a starter, and other times she would come on. So I think she's doing okay, and I think she is getting in the right positions. I just think probably be more clinical, but I still think she's doing good. And yeah, I think like even if she doesn't score, I think it's good that she has the confidence to go for these type of shots. So yeah, I think it was good that we started that off well for her. So hopefully she can get more goals. And like I said, her getting that goal in the last game was probably really good for her confidence, because it's the first World Cup, it's a big tournament for her. So she knows how well she can perform from the Euros. So I think this tournament's probably really big for her. So hopefully she can score next time. But good on her for kind of giving things a go, even it's quite a big tournament for her.
I can't finish the first half without mentioning Rachel Daly and Lottie. Rachel Daly with a volley. It was saved by Naduzzi, but from the corner from Alex Greenwood. And then there was also the opportunity of a possible penalty. It was eventually not given by VAR as Abede pushes Rachel Daly on the floor, but it wasn't given. Just your thoughts.
No, the volley is something that we've seen several times over the season. It's a replica of her first goal. I've got to say the Nigeria keeper was absolutely on fire that game, throughout the game, to have the shot she had at her thrown at her. It was just unlucky when it got to penalties, obviously. As for that situation, it was a penalty for me, but I also understand it was contact before the push. So if you watch on the replay, the contact was made, Rachel Daly darts round, and then she gets pushed. But I think it should have been given for me personally. I don't know what you guys think, but it should have been a penalty all day long.
But I do have.
Here we go.
But when you say I don't know, what do you mean by contact before push? Because you're saying a push.
Because they jumped. From what I saw on the slow replay and the breakdown, they ran into each other. Rachel Daly's gone on the sharp turn to get rounded to go into the box, and then the push was made.
Yeah, but is the push itself not a foul?
Yeah, it is. But there's the referee in the comment and whatever's gone on in the VAR room saying it was contact before the push. That was the reason.
Right. Okay.
You're listening to the breakdown at halftime properly.
I think it was also started outside the box as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside the box where the initial arm goes out.
So I didn't watch the halftime analysis because I was at work and I wanted to use it to sort of catch up. But
here we go.
I did find it rather confusing. I'm always the big advocate of VAR, and I try and defend it as best I can, and I'm trying to look for reasons why VAR made the decision. And for me, I felt it was originally a soft 50-50. It's one of those I know there's always this contact and push. It's one of those ones where they always say in the Premier League, if it's given, VAR wouldn't overturn it. If it wasn't given, VAR wouldn't give it. I felt, from my interpretation, it was the overturn came because maybe they didn't feel the contact was sufficient enough. For me, there was contact, clear contact, and for me, whether they believe it's sufficient contact shouldn't be down to VAR. That should be down to the ref. I couldn't see anything clear and obvious that would suggest it wasn't a penalty, although as soft as it was. But it was just bizarre that it took up to the moment where Georgia Stanway had the ball in her hand, about to put on the spot, and then the referee says, "No, hang on, I want to have a look at the thing."
Yeah,
surely
absolutely. It's a lot of question marks on this one.
Yeah.
Because if you look at this ref's record with the games that she's refereed, let's say, she's card happy. She loves the yellow card. And I've looked at her stats and I thought, we're in trouble. I mean, thank God we had Kira Bolsh back for 120 minutes. Thank God for that. Otherwise, we would have been doomed.
What I would say, and which adds to confusion, is this is one of the big flaws with this new rule where the referees announce to the crowd what the decision is. Because I'm all for that. I think it's great. I think but the problem is they announce the decision, which was no penalty, and they announce what comes next with drop ball. But there's no explanation in between. I think with some decisions, if it's a positive decision, like if they're giving a penalty, they'll say handball, penalty, or whatever. But there was no explanation given. There was nothing to say.
They're not meant to be given any explanations. They just say decision and then what it is, and that's it.
But they do, because they say like goal disallowed offside, or they'll say penalty given, foul, penalty.
What we want to know, I think what you're getting at is what we want to know is what that internal conversation is, so we understand why this happened and why that happened, not just a short sentence of it all.
No, well, I don't care about. I mean, I'd love to hear the internal conversations because they'll be fascinating.
Oh no, that would make the VAR scrutiny even worse. They're trying to protect the VAR.
I think because the footage from what I was seeing and what I was seeing on the commentary seems so conclusive that it was a penalty. The fact that they have reversed that, I would have loved to have known. Just if someone could tell me it was because, I don't know, someone was offside, or we believe that Daly initiated the contact. We believe that there was not sufficient contact. As long as I understand what the reason is, I can sort of then pass judgment. But the fact it was just, there's no penalty and it's a drop ball. I don't know. I feel there's a hole in the process that could be filled there.
No, absolutely. Even the commentators were saying contact before the push. So plus the fact, as Stu just said, the contact was outside the box.
Yeah. Well, there is a whole rule that if the contact carries into the box, I think they can give it. I think that
but they didn't want to. That's the difference.
But what I would say is we didn't deserve that penalty, because based on that first half, we deserved nothing. And maybe Nigeria earned that luck because they were playing us off the park. I mean, it would have been very much like Haiti against the run of play, but we snuck it. We stole in, got a penalty, bit fluky, took the lead, get to half time, maybe regroup. We didn't deserve the penalty. We didn't deserve the chance to score because we were not playing as well as we know we can. Rusa had that one chance, and that mentioned, and that was sort of a snapshot. She had to bend that on the keeper, but she went for power, and it was a good save.
Very, very Ellen White-esque. She had plenty of time. She could have done a 2 and chip, and we know this.
She rushed it. She went in first time, and I don't know. I do worry about Rusa. Obviously, she got a goal in the previous game, and I was hoping that was going to kick on. But in fairness to Rusa, yes, she missed that chance, but I think other players can be guilty of not really stepping up either. It was I think we were a bit caught out by that first half. And yeah, it would have been lucky if we'd gone in 1-0 up based on what was quite a soft penalty, even if there was a lot of strangeness around it. What I would say is, I know Matt's going to probably come to this, I'm jumping ahead a bit, but Matt's going to bring it later, is Nigeria, I feel, should have had a penalty in extra time. And for me, this sort of this cancels out almost the fact that we had a weird one that got disallowed, and then Nigeria had that moment in the extra time. We thought, I think probably bronzes basically shoved the player over, and nothing got given. And that's maybe a bit of equilibrium, but that's the only real positive I can draw out of it.
So we'll go on to the second half now. Uchecha Kanu, Lottie's one to watch.
Uchenna.
Uchenna, apologies. She hits the crossbar. So I was going to bring you in, Lottie, actually, for this one, because you've been calling her out as your one to watch this.
Oh, absolutely. She was when we looked back at Group C. No, Group B.
Group B.
I had to think about that enough. The group feels like a lifetime ago. No, absolutely. I mean, she's one of the rising stars at the moment, and if you watched her through the group stages, you would have seen she's had these shots, but she just hasn't quite hit the net. I think she's scored. I can't quite remember, but she's got a wicked strike on her when from distance. Evidently we saw that this morning. Depending on when you're listening to this podcast, of course, but it is Monday night for us. Yeah, it's what I expect from her, and she had a really good game. Majority of them is, I think, for me, is it Abajude? She kept Lucy Bronze busy. She kept Lauren Hemp out of it. She just had a brilliant game, and I'm quite pleased she plays for Atletico Madrid as well in Spain. They've got a good player on their hands.
So we'll move on to Alex Greenwood with a corner. Again to Rachel Daly. So because I've already asked this one to Lottie, I'll give this one to G.
Don't you mean our resident number one Rachel Daly fan?
She talks about Rachel on a daily basis.
Rachel Daly is a striker fan club. Yes, Unaduzi saves the initial shot from Rachel Daly, and then Alessia Russo, a header is just not enough to go into the Nigerian net. So, your thoughts, G?
First of all, Alex Greenwood was insane today. As always, set pieces on point. Yeah, it's just one of those where although the balls into the box were almost perfect, she jumped too quickly on that one. She was already in the air as it was coming in, so she just didn't connect with it. And there was a few chances like that Alessia had. But what I do like is, although obviously Rachel Daly's playing left back, she is getting into the box still, and she is still there, as in, like, people aren't recognizing her. There was a point where she was completely unmarked, and I don't know if that's the initial one that you're mentioning there, but she was unmarked. No one was obviously expecting her to be there, and she probably should have done a little bit better. But that's a nice new tactic that we can throw into the game because the team aren't going to expect her to do every single one. Like Lucy Bronze is sometimes on the back post in the occasional corner. So the fact that we can have both of them involved might help us going forward as that extra. Because, obviously Millie Bright can come up as well. But I think those two not coming up for every single one or the occasional one, being there in the box, not knowing if they're going to be there, will help us hopefully turn that into a goal at some stage. But I don't think... It's one of those where we could have played all day, and I don't think we actually would have scored. And the same for them. It could have just gone on forever. No one was clearly cool enough today.
Just to iterate that point, England had 12 shots, 4 of them were on target. Nigeria had 20, only 2 of them were on target. So we're going to go on to probably the most controversial thing that I think all of us will be having some say on. But I want to get your thoughts first of all, Sophie. Lauren James with the red card. Unfortunately, it was a stamp on a losey.
Yeah, it's quite bad. Like, I think when you watch it back, it's even worse, because I saw a few people on Twitter that thought maybe she tripped over and, like, she by accidentally, her foot landed on her back. But when you watch it back, it is really bad. It's definitely a red card, and I think it was important that the referee gave them, like, Lauren a red card, because it shows you that isn't acceptable. Because if she got away with it, young people that watch football might think that's okay to do that. So I think that was really important that the referee got that right. But yeah, I think it's just quite a bad mistake. I don't know why she did it. Was it frustration? And it's hard to know why she did it, because don't know if she was just frustrated that we weren't winning or things weren't going our way. But yeah, you can't do that in these type of games. This game was so crucial for us. So, but I do think she is young, she's learning, and I'm sure she knows herself that it was a really bad mistake. So, yeah, I think she'll bounce back from this, and I know how supportive the girls are, so I'm sure they'll help her too with that. But yeah, she can't really do that again. It's not really something she should ever do, but it's just hard to figure out why she did it in the first place, because especially when you watch it back, it is really terrible. So yeah, the referee definitely got that one right.
Adam, she potentially now could miss the rest of the tournament.
Yep, and rightly so. It was cynical, immature, petulant. She'd been bigged up throughout the group stage, as we mentioned earlier. It's just this rising superstar that's going to be the talisman to drive this team forward. And she's coming to this Nigeria game, and she's just not had it her own way. She's not been able to express herself. She's not scored. She's not assisted. She's not done anything close to what she was doing in the China game. And it can be a joke when the corners kept coming in and they were cleared, and Lauren James was just lumping it into row Z from the edge of the box, just trying to score a world in. It was like, come on, use a bit of imagination. I know you scored worldies on against China, but you can't it's not going to happen all the time. And she didn't win a duel. She didn't win the right to play. She got frustrated. The Nigerian players rightly were double marking up her, and because she's the number 10, she is the focal point of creativity. So it's like when the Spanish took Kira Walsh out of the game and England couldn't play the game anymore. They took Lauren James out of the play, her creativity gone. And the problem with Lauren James is that she's very young, she's very naive, she's very immature. You have to have that mental strength to resist, to not get angry, to not allow the emotions of the game and the frustrations to sort of come to the fore. And the best comparison I can make is David Beckham in '98, when he got into a bit of a fracas, I think it was Diego Simeone, and he tried to very childishly, very subtly, just leave a leg out. I think he flicked a leg out on the player, and it was silly. It was a stupid thing to do, and he rightly got sent off for it. And he obviously went out on penalties, and he became a villain for it. Don't really know what happened to him after that. Sort of faded into obscurity. But with Lauren James, it was the move of a player who is raw, is young, is naive, and in the instant I think she got into a tussle with a player, didn't win the ball, we didn't win the duel, and they're sort of entangled. And you could see the moment she got up, she was annoyed, and she thought, I can leave my foot in here. I can leave one on her and make it look like an accident. And you watch it, and you can, some cynics might go, well, yes, she's just trying to clear herself. No, exactly as a footballer, she knows exactly what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she's just letting out her frustration in that moment. The commentators knew it immediately when they saw it happen. They thought, she's in trouble here. And the moment the VAR review happens, she's rightly sent off. And she's very, very lucky, as all of England are, but she is very lucky that ultimately that didn't, unlike with David Beckham, England didn't go out because of it. We were able to overcome it. But I don't think, I think it's a game suspension, but FIFA may extend it if they believe it to be violent conduct or not how the rules work. And if it goes up to 3 games, that's it. Her World Cup's over. And Serena will have to change the team again. And that raises further questions, because obviously we thought we fixed our creativity with James's 10. So does Ella Toone come in? Does Jordan Nobbs maybe play as 10? It's going to be interesting to see how we line up for the next game, because Lauren James obviously won't be in that game and probably won't be in the future ones. And it's a shame, because this should have been her moment to sort of showcase her to the world. And all she's got is basically a free fall against China, which I think, if we look back, is probably not the greatest of opponents to showcase your skills. I think she's probably hoping to do it maybe against Spain or France or Australia. It's a silly moment, and I think she'd look back and think, I messed up there big time. And hopefully she'll learn from it, because she's got plenty of years left to learn from it. But I have to deal with it now.
So, as Adam has mentioned, there are going to be a few questions on this, but just generally your thoughts on the situation, and what can Serena do to change it? Does it mean that it's going to be a new change in players as well now?
Well, me and Lottie were texting a lot this morning. Before that happened, we were both saying that she had her Chelsea boots on today.
Absolutely. I think my words are, this is the Lauren James we know and love.
Like typical. But unfortunately for her, that is the only thing people are going to remember for her at this stage. they're not going to remember those goals now because this will take centre stage. So it's also how she then deals with it, because even when it happened, she's got that like attitude about her. I don't think it's intentional. I think she's really.
I don't know about you,
but it's like arrogant, isn't it?
Do you know what? I get the attitude vibes of like Reese from her.
Yeah,
big time.
Maybe it's something between, but even the ref, I don't know if it's the linesman or the fourth official, made her turn around and accept the red card being shown by the ref. And you just think, well, you've lost your head in that moment, but at least this doesn't happen in our game. You're still respectful. Yeah. And it's just her swagger, her attitude about it. You just think, oh, no. But the incident, you think, like Sophie said, if it naturally happens when they're falling over, if they've accidentally kicked as they're trying to land or put their foot down and not realised, but whatever happens, they tumble into each other. And she just sort of stays above her for like, it looked like minutes, so obviously it's like 10 seconds, and then decides to get up and just like stands on her. So there is no way she can hide away from it whatsoever. It was not an accident. It was fully intentional. But then as well, the Nigerian player didn't do anything. Like, it wasn't a retaliation to her kicking her again or pushing her off her. Yeah. Literally nothing happened. So it's kind of bizarre what made her lose her head in that moment. Maybe it is frustration because, like we've all said, she was being battered out of the game. She wasn't able to keep the ball at all. There was always two players on her, man marking her. And that does frustrate you, especially after the freedom she had in the China game and the level she reached in that game. She then turned into the superstar for England, all in the name that's floating around. And then a few days later, this happens. But like you said, it was very lucky that we were then able to manage it. And it was the girls worked hard for it once that had happened, because we were almost settling for the penalties straight away. We were so withdrawn from the game. We're just picking the ball, no one's there. Or Chloe Kelly just couldn't, she isn't that type of player like Russo would have been to hold it up at least and run it higher up the pitch to get it away. So it in turn put us in a lot of pressure. But luckily, obviously, we got through it. But going into the next game, I don't know now. I don't know if maybe Chloe Kelly she deserves a chance to be in the team, and then we rotate it a little bit more. But I honestly don't know. I don't know if Ella Toon's going to fill those kind of boots like in the Haiti game. That makes us more defensive. But yeah, it's one of those that it's another obstacle we've got to get through. But it was good that with the penalties, obviously we all hated that. Me and Lottie were texting the whole way through like, oh my god, no, please no. But it was nice. The commentators were referencing the finalissima game and how we didn't want it to happen then, but that was probably the best thing that could have happened, because it obviously has happened already, and who knows if that will happen again.
I thought Lottie was going to say something then, but
I was just going to say I absolutely hope not, because I can't. As I said, 3 penalty shootouts in less than 24 hours, please. Stress levels. Although I had 3 good results, is not the point.
I just want to.
Today was the worst to handle.
It was.
Do you know what? It was worse than the finalissima. It was worse.
I just wanted to say, mate, you were talking about tests earlier, about the test of Nigeria playing the way they did. I think the interesting test for me is England playing with 10 players. And I've watched a few World Cups of England. I don't ever recall seeing the Lionesses playing a World Cup with 10 players. I don't ever recall us. I mean, because red cards are rare in women's football, as we know. But I don't ever recall us seeing us get a player sent off. And I'm sort of thinking back to that 2007 here. Please, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. So this was almost a new world sort of for England, and it was fascinating to see how we managed it and how Serena went with their substitutions. Obviously, I'm surprised she brought Kelly on for Russo, because I would have thought England would have been the obvious choice, but she brought Kelly on. She did bring England on, obviously, in extra time and moved it about. But I did think that was maybe shows where England is in the pecking order. In that situation, she didn't immediately go for her. And I think actually that was probably a mistake by Serena. Obviously, she did bring England on. As for penalties, that's the first time we've won a penalty shootout at a World Cup. And the second time of asking, we lost the previous one against France. So again, another mental hurdle broken, another first time, but another test pass. But I thought, interesting to see. Because the moment we went down to 10, I know we had a bit of time until full time, but I was thinking, extra time. If Nigeria really wanted it, they got their subs right, and they bought a Shwala one, didn't they? They bought a Shwala one, and I thought a Shwala against 10 players with that pace, if she was fully fit, which she's not, but if she'd been fully fit, I thought, they could have us on toast here. And I thought fair play to dig in and play for the 0-0 with 10 players. A bit of credit to the Lionesses for that. I think that's proper grit shown.
So, Sophie, as we head towards extra time, just Nigeria kept on coming. There was, as Adam has alluded to, the Lucy Bronze incident where it looked like it was going to be a penalty and then it wasn't given. Do you think that was a possible penalty, or were you just sort of relieved sitting there?
It's hard because I know in football and in sport you sort of use your body to, get the ball off people, but I think if I was England, I would probably want that as a penalty because I think, she did go down, but I think in the extra time, I did think we went quite tired. Like Lucy Bronze, I think she did kind of make a few mistakes. She was quite tired. She's played the whole game, but I think for me, I probably would say but I think when the referee didn't make a decision about it, I just felt relieved that it was over because I thought I cannot go through any more stress of them having that penalty. So I would say because there was contact there, but I also get in football you sort of do use your body, to get the ball off people or to do that. So I get that. But I do think we were quite lucky to escape that one.
I think the best thing to move on to is the one that's going to hurt us the most. Reliving those penalties, I'll come to G first with the first ones. Georgia Stanway and Operazzi both missing the first two penalties. What were your initial feeling when, first of all, Georgia steps up to take that first penalty?
We know she's our regular taker, but obviously they did the kiss of death of mentioning the Haiti first attempt, and obviously in penalties you don't get the second attempt. So naturally she puts it wide. And my heart just sank at that moment. I thought, oh my God, if we didn't have anything else going not our way today, this is also gonna the main person you'd think will be scoring the goal takes it on first. And she missed it. And then obviously Nigeria, it was like the exact same penalty from them. It went the same distance, same position, gone. So my feeling at that, luckily when Nigeria missed theirs, I thought, right, that's fine, clean sweep, let's go again. I had full faith in Mary because I think they took a lot of time today before going into actually starting the penalties. There was a lot going on, and Mary, you noticed that Mary just took herself away, and there was a moment in the camera where she's proper focused, she's doing all sorts of a face and just she's going taking a drink, so you're safe with her. Obviously she didn't get to save me today, but it does. I was happy with the lineup of the penalty takers as well, actually, but I didn't have faith as much in Bev England before she took it, just because of the minutes she hasn't had in the tournament. Because you know what it's like with just to quickly mention the men's Euro, when they didn't have enough time, then they're chucked in on a penalty. So those feelings were playing in my mind. But fair play to her, she absolutely smashed it, and so did obviously the rest of the girls. And luckily they've got one in their locker now, so that will. Once it's in that stage, you're in a World Cup, it's to go to the quarterfinals and you've scored your penalty. It will do them all wonders going forward. Hopefully we don't have to go for it again. But
so it's the second penalty. Then Beth England steps up. She scores right in the middle, and then Aluzi, who got Lauren James sent off, blasts it over. I was just going to come to Sophie on this one. What were your thoughts on that second penalty?
Well, I was obviously relieved when they missed, but I think with the penalties, I think like when Georgia Stanway missed, I was thinking like, oh, I really hope this isn't over now. So I was quite relieved when they did miss quite a lot of penalties, I thought. I think, to be honest, like a lot of it's down to like for Nigeria, it's a big tournament for them, like to come this far. So I reckon that nerves just got the better of them, and yeah, I think we probably were better. We were better at penalties, which is better for us because in the game I couldn't see us scoring. I couldn't really. I think they were more likely to score, but they did miss a lot of chances. So I think we were very fortunate that in penalties we were much better in them. But yeah, I think when Georgia missed, I was really upset. But then they missed a few more after that, so felt better at that. But yeah, I just think our penalties were really good. I think we seemed a lot more composed than them, a lot more calmer, like we believed in ourselves a bit more. I think they've had a lot of practice at it, that's probably why. But yeah, I think it's good that we did better than them at penalties. But yeah, I think they were just probably nervous and it's probably a lot to deal with. So I think it's good for us that they weren't as good as us.
I wouldn't be able to go on and not let the Daily enthusiast talk about Rachel Daly going and hit it right near the top of the corner.
I'm really sorry, but you can't not expect Rachel Daly to stick that in. She's the number one choice at Aston Villa. We've seen her take penalties before. Her name was down. I think I'm just going to rewind a bit. I mean, England for England. Like, how has no one mentioned that? I mean, we've been waiting for that sentence. England scores for England, and it's just, it's actually kind of mad to even think about. But after that penalty we saw against Sabrina D'Angelo over in Brisbane Road, we know she likes to score against Arsenal, but we know she's a good penalty taker from the WSL. So although I think Sabrina D'Angelo didn't go down because of the state of that pitch, personally, I would have just let it in as well. But back to England, really pleased with Beth England. She did set up a really good chance in those closing minutes, but I think Bright just didn't get to it in the end.
She's offside as well, so it wouldn't have
there's that as well. But it was a good setup. You've got to give her that.
It was close. It was close.
Yeah, and like I was at the point with her, I was thinking, Serena doesn't rate her at this point, but she is that player that needs to come off the bench a bit sooner for me.
Yeah.
And it's a bit strange to say, no, but she's a Tottenham fan. Why are you saying this? Tottenham player. Why are you saying this? And I went, she's that impact player at the moment for what Russo was for Ellen White. And I think we need to get that system up and running with her. As for Rachel Daly, superb, magnificent, exactly what I expected to see from her. It wasn't not going to go in, So.
Can I just pick up what you said, Lottie, about the subs? I found it so strange how Serena didn't make any subs until I think it was around about until I think it was she was about to start making them when Lauren James
120 minutes she took off Kira Walsh at Zellum.
Yeah, and I think
120 minutes. First came back from injury. I thought it was a bit much. I kind of freaked out on G earlier over the text, and I went, "Oh my god, she's walking off with the doctors." Oh my god, like G was like 30 seconds or 40 seconds behind me. And I kind of freaked her out.
I was like, "Who? What happened?"
They made. I'm just looking at the stats. So she made the first sub on 88 minutes, and then the next one was Beth England in first half extra time, and then Kate Zellum obviously at the end.
You know what? I was waiting for 75 minutes. That's her normal mark.
Yeah. And
I think I don't know why she thing.
Russo off at that point.
No.
And Hemp was just, she ran.
Oh,
so
before
much,
I forget,
knackered.
Speaking of Hemp, massive happy 23rd birthday to her today. She was playing. Yeah. Massive happy birthday to her. I mean, that's one way to spend your 23rd birthday, isn't it, G?
Oh my god, yeah. But I obviously I love her, but I just feel that there is a point sometimes where she's always the one that's like left on the pitch, and she's obviously the one going up, down, everywhere. And I just thought that Kelly would be that would be the change. Yeah. So because it just didn't work initially, unless you were bringing on like Beth England to replace Russo, like for life. But what she did do didn't work, and it was too late. So that it was surprising from her. She was kind of maybe overthinking it a little bit too much, because you don't want to also make changes at that point where it was and then disrupt it even more. It is a tricky kind of game to make a sub, I guess.
But it just during the Euros, Serena was so proactive with her subs. Yeah, she wouldn't. She was. I mean, she felt like, I don't know if she froze or whether she was worried. I mean, the whole England team looked worried when they were playing. But the fact that Serena, after 60 minutes, Serena think, right, I'm gonna it's 0-0. It's not working. I'm bringing Kelly on. I'm bringing Robinson on. I'm bringing Beth England on. I'm making changes now. But she just sort of left it to play out. It just seemed a bit odd.
I think with that one, Adam, with the European teams, she knows what these top European teams are like. She knows the Dutch inside out, for example, obviously for obvious reasons. But when you look at the other teams that there, she's used to playing against them on a regular basis, and she's always won, either with us or it's with the Dutch. And when you're going into a World Cup and you're coming up against teams like Nigeria, it's a massive unknown. Yes, you know the likes of Aset Oshola. She's one of the best strikers in the world. But you look at that back line, you look at, I think is it Obi? She's 40 years old. She's such an unknown, but she's a massive legend for Falcons.
Onomi Ebi, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. But she's a massive legend. She's been inspiring for 20 years, exactly the same as Marta and Christine Sinclair. But to the likes of maybe you or me, we're like a bit of an unknown. So majority of that team is unknown unless you look at the likes of Ashley Puntry, who kept Leicester City up and who is currently left for free.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you noticed, she was about to, I don't know if it was for Lauren James, but she was about to bring Ella Toon on at the same time.
There was a subs were being prepped when Lauren James hit the nuclear button.
I think
I spotted it. I couldn't quite see her number and I couldn't recognise, because normally you'd see her ponytail and I was like, who's that coming on? And I just saw the 10 and I thought, oh, Ella Toon, Lauren James is coming on. And then obviously just so
she was coming up. Lauren James said, no, I'm going off on my own terms.
Yeah, but the thing is, with me, I've got a bit of a question mark over Toon at the moment. Like, she's played every single, as May said in a couple of pods ago, every single game for Man United. Is she too tired to be that number 10? And that is why Lauren James is there.
Is it time for Jordan Nobbs then for the next round?
I don't think Serena rates her. I'm at that point. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
Like,
just don't get a chance.
Can I just say what an immense game Jess Carter had? She was insane today. I want more of that Jess Carter. This game, she was not that weak link I've been calling her out for.
No.
She nailed it today.
Yeah, she nailed it today.
So anyway, Al-Jabash also did score that third penalty for Nigeria, so that put them back into the game. I'm trying to remember. Adam, I believe it's your turn. Alex Greenwood, right corner, and Usha also on that right hand side. Score for the fourth penalty.
It's fantastic when they take the penalty and the keeper dives the opposite way. And when Greenwood placed it and the keeper's, I think keeper's to the right and keeper's gone, Greenwood's gone keeper's left. It's sort of like, we don't have to worry. It's so satisfactory when they've gone for the keeper. I should also want to throw my 2 pennies worth on the penalties there. I think it was the first one they took, the Nigeria player. I think it was Operazzoni. The commentator said, and this is the player they brought on specifically to take the penalty. I thought, right. That's sort of the whole she sliced it away. It was sort of it's another rule that you don't bring players on specifically for penalties, and yet managers insist on doing this. I don't know why they do it. We saw in the USA, I think it was Kelly O'Hara, she came off the bench a penalty, missed it. I think that makes Beth England scoring a penalty even more impressive. I think it did help that she had a bit more time in the game. But yeah, once Greenwood got, I think was it 3-1 at that point? Was it Greenwood's penalty? Was that the third one we got in?
Yeah, before Usha B scored her second.
No, it was a good pen. We were watching up to the penalty office, and there was a lot of oohs and ahs when some of them flew over the bar and flew wide. But there was a huge bit of appreciation for Daly's penalty. It was very much, I was like, that's a penalty. That is an absolute penalty. I mean, Lottie's going to murder me now because I'm going to compare this penalty to Maguire. But when Maguire took the penalty at the Euros,
Maguire out of this. He can't defend for shite.
Yeah,
unless I just broke the rule, I don't care. He can't defend. You cannot compare the defensive skills of Rachel Daly to him. I bang out of order. I'm not having that.
Okay, right. Okay.
You just did difference. I am not having none of that.
Right. Thirdly,
every time
I knew not to murder. Secondly, Lottie randomly turned Irish, and I'm not entirely sure why. Thirdly, she's broken the swear word rule. But fourthly, I'm not comparing.
That's why. She's got an E on the end of it. That's why. So it don't count.
Fourthly, I was not comparing red defensive capabilities because Rachel Davies leagues ahead. I was thinking back to the Euro final when Maguire took a penalty and it hit the top corner so hard it broke the camera. And when Daly scored her penalty, and you saw the camera rattle around in the housing when she buried it, it did remind me a bit of that. It was a superb penalty. But the Greenwood one, I was very confident because we know what Greenwood's like. She's great with set pieces. She's a great dead ball specialist, and I'm always confident with these players, but I'm therefore hopeful that they're not going to let me down. And thankfully, Greenwood, it was beautifully placed, bottom corner. Lottie's still fuming with me, so this is going to be my last podcast. I do apologise, everyone.
Yeah, top applications go out this evening.
Sophie, I hope do you fancy coming on full time, perchance? Yes, brilliant penalty from Greenwood. And I must say with Greenwood, I'm so impressed with her with World Cup because I remember watching her at the last World Cup and she was very error-driven, a lot of mistakes at the back, misplaced passes, poor communication. She was solid, as was the backline. Minnie Bright, solid. Jess Carter, if you said solid. Greenwood, solid. I mean, we managed to hold them off, and it is down to that back three. And yeah, Greenwood penalties. I mean, yeah, buried it. Put us at match points, and at that point, you're just hoping can Earps pull a save out, or is it going to? I actually thought we're going to get to the last penalty. I thought Katie Zellin would take the last penalty. I actually thought because she was brought up for Kira Walsh, and I thought she was going to take. And I was thinking, please take it. Not only because of the narrative, but because Matt will be furious if she takes the last penalty and she scores it. Because I was very disappointed when it wasn't her, but I think maybe probably for the best that was the case. But yeah, top pen from Greenwood.
You had to say it, didn't you?
I was not going to get out of the pod without mentioning the Z word.
Before we move on, and because you've mentioned it, I do apologise in the previous podcast for saying that Katie Zellin only deserves a 1. She can get her bumped up to a 4 because she only misplaced 12 of her 33 passes. So,
wait,
anyway,
you went back.
Do you sit and count those?
There was an actual stat.
Yeah, he's got a Katie Zellin
You
counter.
have a little tally, but there's the next Scott.
Yes.
Yeah.
He does. He tries, and then he loses count.
Don't try and con anyone that you don't have an agenda here, Matt. I mean, it's clear.
No. I'm holding my hands up and saying she deserved a little bit more credit than I gave her. But going back towards this game, even though she did come on, unfortunately she didn't take a penalty. But better or worse, whatever you want to say. Chloe Kelly steps up and blasts it top left. Chloe Kelly again sending the nation into jubilation, ecstasy, euphoria, whatever you want, whatever your choice. I'm going to come to Sophie for this because this is the 3rd time now she's stepped up in big moments. Twice in 2 finals, and when it really matters with another penalty. So that's 2 penalties in three games. Just with thoughts when she stepped up.
That was such a great penalty. I couldn't watch. I was like, whenever I watch penalties, I always close my eyes. It's too stressful for me. But yeah, it was a really good penalty, and she's just that person that's really good at taking those. In the most important moments, she can take the penalties or score the goals. When you're at the Euros, so I think she was the right person to take it at that time because she was just very calm and relaxed. And I feel confident whenever she's going to take a penalty because I just love how she goes up to do it. She's just really, calm. And it was a great penalty. And I think she was the right person to take us through to the quarterfinals with the lost penalty. But obviously it was very nerve-wracking because, if she hadn't scored the penalty, we'd had to have keep going. But yeah, I was thinking just score it so I can breathe for a bit because my anxiety through that penalty shootout was awful. But I was just thinking, just can this be over now? And Chloe just score it. But yeah, very, very happy for her. And I do want to say that I think I saw her and a few other players went over to their goalkeeper to give them like a hug and see if she was okay. And I just wanted to say a lot of respect for them. I think Hannah Hampton was the other one. I think Alex Greenwood, I can't remember. But I think that was really lovely to see. And it shows, she did score the penalty, but she doesn't really have this arrogance arrogant. She's very humble and likable. So, yeah, very happy she got the winner. But it's also lovely to have such a great role model like her playing for England. So, yeah.
Sorry, Matt, just to add on to that, I think the best bit about that, as Sophie was saying, it was if it was Chloe Kelly, she basically told the cameras and the media to sod off.
Yeah.
I love that.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
Well, we'll carry on with the Chloe Kelly because she has been that penalty. It was a huge moment for her to set up. It almost feels like when Leah Williamson with Lottie, we were both there at the final ESMA, when basically Leah Williamson just went up to the opposition and just shook hands with them, made sure that they were all right.
I think you mean Raffaele.
Raffaele.
It was Rafa.
Well.
It was Rafa. She went straight to Rafa first. They were besties. I mean, it just had to be Chloe Kelly. She's that player in those big moments, and it's the one person I depend upon. And I sit there and I'm like, I'm freaking out in my head. And I was texting G, freaking out about this between us, and she kind of stepped up. It was like a little hop, skip and a jump, boom, straight in the net, and it was like, yes! I literally launched myself off the sofa, screamed my head off again. So glad I got building works downstairs, because otherwise everybody was like, what the hell is she screaming her head off for this time in the morning? So yeah, no, it just has to be Chloe Kelly. It's hop, skip, jump, boom, and it's just something I'm too used to at the moment of her getting us out of these situations that we kind of dug ourselves into. It's kind of, although Nigeria had the better game time, it's kind of bittersweet they lost to us on penalties. If anyone, I don't know if any of you saw the post-match interviews, but Chloe Kelly said, well, it's not down to me, it's down to this whole team. We're a special bunch of players. She will not take credit for any of it. And that's one thing I absolutely adore about her, because she's all about the team. It's not individuality like we see in certain other England teams, shall we say. It's one team. It doesn't matter who you play for domestically. Doesn't matter. You're just one team. You're going through the motions, and they don't bottle stuff, and I love it.
G, on Chloe Kelly and the penalty?
Penalty, top bins, fabulous. She is technically our national treasure now. I mean, she's done more in the bigger moments than like any of the male counterparts have done. So I'm expecting that statue to go outside of Wembley very soon. But yeah, like you said, I mean, as a sports player, it's obviously you want to be able to enjoy that moment and celebrate as a team, but then you're also aware that could be you the next round. That could have been us at that point as well. And it's one of, I hate the end of games like that, because the camera does want to go straight away to finds the player that's crying, and you just think, oh, let them have their moment. Like, it's devastating, and the fact that they, for a start, didn't run off and celebrate together. They had their really small moment, and then they were straight away trying to shake hands with them and give the girls from Nigeria hugs. And just the fact that they all grouped around, they kind of like built a shield around the Nigeria goalkeeper and just sort of let her have her moment, and obviously would have said good words to her about how incredible she was anyway. But yeah, it's just, we don't want to have the reliance on her that she has to be doing those moments as well. I think they've all come so naturally. For her taking the last penalty, obviously the Euros is what it was anyway, but we'll hope that she doesn't start to then feel the pressure of, if we need that moment, it has to be, she used to do it, so she needs to do it again, if you know what I mean. I just want her to remain calm and cool like she is. But yeah, what a player as well. I love her. She might be a City player, but she's just unbelievable, isn't she, for us? She
does have a Arsenal link, which is always good to see. So Adam, just quickly on Chloe Kelly.
Yeah, brilliant player. She came through the Arsenal Academy. Now we had her for 3 years until she went to some club in Liverpool called Everton. So fancy that, eh? Yeah, brilliant. I'll always cherish that moment at Wembley when she scrambled that ball home. Doesn't have to be. This is what great thing. It doesn't have to be a worldie. It doesn't have to be a 25-yarder or a superb volley or a curler. Or it was the scrappiest, ugliest goal you will ever see to win any tournament, and I don't care. She was there to score it. The Finn and Melissa, they actually rigged the shootout. I think Leah Williams had a word there. She said, no, we're going to put Chloe Kelly on last because of the Euros. And now it's paid off because she was the last one to take it again. And she's only 25, but she's more than happy to take on the mantle of the pressure of that pressure kick. I mean, we were all before the shootout. There's a few of us in the office. I mean, we know as Englishmen, we know what penalties mean for England, and we know there is nothing more English than going out on penalties. Our history speaks for itself, certainly on the male side. And so we're sort of all bracing for the narrative of how we're going to go out. And when we saw what happened with the USA-Sweden and the fact the USA had the kick to win it and choked it, and obviously then Sweden went on to win it, and you're just thinking, please, Kay, just do what you did in the Philippines. Just repeat the process, take your time. And I think that was a difference with Nigeria with their penalties. I think they said in the commentary they'd only had like one shootout before, and it was AFCON, and they lost it. They looked, I mean, for the 120 minutes, they looked like they belonged at this level. They belonged, playing football, outplayed us. But in those minutes, the penalty shootout, I think they looked a bit rabbit in the headlights. They just didn't have that experience and composure. And I think that's why two of them completely, fluffed their lines. Whereas likes of Kelly, not Stanway, but Kelly, Greenwood, England, Daly, they knew their process. They knew what they're doing. I think Kelly said post-match is like, what was your process? Well, I just knew I was going to score. I just knew my routine. I knew what I was going to do. Just cold ruthlessness with a hop and a skip thrown in. And that was the difference. And that's incredible for Kelly, especially for someone who hasn't played that much. She's come off the bench. She's not a starter. But she's had a key influence on this particular World Cup game, just as she did in the Euro, just as she did in the that final against Brazil, Melissa, whatever it's called. I can never say it right. An incredible player, and if we're gonna go and win more penalty shootouts, we'll need to make sure she stays on form. And we can say it was a superb penalty. I think the keeper might have got a touch to it, but top binning it like Daly, it was much relief when that went in. I think they said on the TV it was a daylight robbery. England got so lucky to win on penalties, and after that performance, we got so lucky. I don't want them to do that again. Please don't. Just win it in normal time, please.
Speaking of the next round, it could be possibly between Jamaica or Colombia. Who would you, just one word answers only across the board? So we'll start with Sophie. Who would you like to see, Colombia or Jamaica?
I'm quite, I honestly don't mind, but I'd probably go Colombia.
Adam?
I would like to have a crack at Jamaica. I don't think it'll be Jamaica. I think it'll be Colombia.
That's a cop-out.
My choice is, I think I would like us to play Jamaica. I think that'd be quite fun, especially against Bunny Shaw.
G?
I'm going to have to say Colombia, I think. I don't want to.
We know what. We know what.
We know what.
No game is easy at this point now.
Are we expecting it all to be what we think, Lottie?
Absolutely, Colombia. Colombia play elite ball. I enjoy watching the football. I have all tournament. I've not missed one of their games, but I will not be wearing my Casado shirt. I will firmly have my England shirt on this next game if they qualify. But it's a case of Jamaica haven't got their firing boots at the moment. Khadija Shaw has not scored. She's had a red card, but she's had no goals. So, and although they're defensively solid, where are their goals going to come from? Can't win a get up. Do in England. I just don't think they have it in the locker.
You can win a game without goals. England did prove that.
That's why I said they can't do in England.
or Sweden.
Clean their mirror ears out, Adam. Can't do in England. I don't think they have it in them to last a full 120.
So that is the end of our show. We would like to thank both G and Sophie, but we will ask for your socials. Where can people find you? G, first of all.
Yeah, as always, just on Twitter, G-Triggs, or Instagram is GunaG1. Thanks for having me again. And we move on to Saturday.
Sophie?
Thank you so much for having me on, by the way. I've really enjoyed this. So if you want to find me on my YouTube channel, it is Guna Gossip TV. That's the same as my Instagram, and my Twitter is TV_Guna.
And Lottie?
You can find me everywhere at Lottie_AWFC, or you can just find me here if you want to listen to my nonsense of winding up Matt or being irritated by Adam. Yes, where you can find me. Well, it is both with you two, isn't it?
And we can't forget the class clown, Adam.
Yeah, if you have enjoyed the absolute nonsense and tripe that I've been spouting for the what feels like the last hour, and that floats your boat, then you can find more said nonsense at Adam Salter 4.
And mine is at MattLR28. This has been a Vic Akers Wonderland. This has been the Lioness show, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you are on YouTube, or maybe just follow back on the audio. I do apologise there. A frog in my throat. But that's not the team I am supporting. So let's all wish the Lioness all the best for the next, and come on England.